Today's review is sponsored by the new dating app Polygamy. You'll have so many wives, you'll never be right.
Watch it, Alan. I'm shooting.
The Serpent and the Rainbow. The late great Wes Craven gave us some of the most iconic horror movies in the genre. The Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream. When you've made movies that are considered classics in the horror genre, they tend to overshadow other great movies that you've made. That's just something that happens. You make a benchmark movie, it tends to overshadow other movies. Wes Craven has made some good flicks that get pushed aside by his genre classics. Deadly Blessing is a pretty damn good movie, but not enough people talk about it. Shocker is a pretty damn good movie, but not enough people talk about it. The People Under the Stairs is my second favorite horror movie by Wes Craven, but, as you would guess, not enough people talk about it. And that's the case with The Serpent and the Rainbow. The movie was inspired by the book of the same name. We'll get more into that in a bit. We follow anthropologist Dr. Dennis Allen. This character was inspired by Wade Davis, the author of the original book. Dennis hears the story of a man in Haiti who died years ago. He was pronounced legally dead, but he's been discovered alive again. He's a zombie. This movie is about anyone, something, D-O-O zombies. Voodoo zombies.
Now, if you don't like the word zombie, you can choose another word, but the fact is, somebody brought him back from the grave. And I want to know how they did it.
So Dennis heads to Haiti to discover the secret of Voodoo Zombification. A lot of bad stuff happens. Oh, we're gonna get into that. Before we dive into the movie, we have to talk about the original book written by Wade Davis. The Serpent and the Rainbow is a true story. It's the written accounts of Wade Davis as he went to Haiti to learn about voodoo and this method of creating zombies. His story was used as inspiration for the movie, but Wes Craven took a lot of liberties with the story, changing it into a supernatural movie. There's no point in comparing the book and the film because they're so vastly different.
You think this is about money?
Yeah.
The way Professor Schoenbacher spoke of you, it was as though you could walk on water. Now I know why. Shit floats.
The book goes into so much detail about voodoo culture, the religion, the history, and these secret societies that make the zombie juice. I could go on for an hour and barely scratch the surface, so just go read the book. Or do a little research. It's fascinating. What happens with Voodoo Zombification is there's this elixir that's made with a bunch of gnarly shit, including toxins from certain plants and animals. What happens is, if you're given this zombie juice, it mimics death perfectly. It puts you in a state that's so much like dead, but it keeps parts of your brain alive, and you're conscious while all this is happening. You witness yourself being pronounced dead and being buried alive. You just can't do anything about it.
I heard the dirt falling over me. The darkness pressed me down.
So you're buried alive. Sometimes you come back to life in the coffin, other times you're given another elixir to bring you back. Whatever the case is, your brain is destroyed from the lack of oxygen, and probably from mentally snapping from seeing yourself getting buried alive. Whatever the case is, a priest comes and digs you up. At that point, your brain has become so destroyed that you become a slave. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's the gist of it. After that hunk of knowledge, let's move on to the movie.
You dreamt of me and of the grave. I know because I was there. And I can be there every time you close your eyes.
Before Bill Pullman was President of the United States leading an airstrike against aliens, he was Dr. Dennis Allen. Dennis is a good main character. We connect with him because he's an outsider in this strange world of turmoil and voodoo. But he's not just a fish out of water. He's smart, he thinks on his feet, and he's determined to find the secret of voodoo zombification.
So you see, Blanc, no second chance, huh? So, the money.
The money. That you get tomorrow, when I see you raise the goat from the dead.
What helps is he's not looking for glory while searching for this elixir. He wants to help people. He's hoping that this substance will be studied as a new form of anesthesia.
I want to use the poison for good to help people who are sick.
My poison can be used in such a way, huh?
Then there's the main villain, Darjan Pentraud. I probably butchered that name and I apologize. He's a good threat in this movie because not only does he study the dark side of voodoo, but he also has a position of power. He's the head of the Tanton Macuse, I probably butchered that name also, which is a form of secret police. This guy is so fucking intimidating.
Did you know this woman, Marielle Duchat, is a radical? So was her father. He was misplaced.
There's plenty of scares in this flick, but there are also moments that are beautiful. I like how this movie touches on voodoo culture. It shows people's connection with it. It treats voodoo like a religion. That's what voodoo is, a religion. But don't worry, we do get into some dark stuff. That's what we horror fans are looking for. There are moments that, I would say, are some of the scariest in Wes Craven movies, for me at least. One of the scariest moments doesn't even involve voodoo zombies. Dr. Allen has been taken in by the Tanton Marcuse. He's been tied naked to a chair, with Darjan standing in front of him, holding a hammer. Then one of his men grabs this really big nail. And you're thinking, what's he gonna do with that nail? Oh no.
Again.
You see all you need to see. They don't show what happens, but you're given little details. More extreme horror movies would show you the bloody details. But here, not seeing what happens makes it more disturbing. Serpent in the Rainbow taps into a fear that most people have in the back of their mind. The fear of being buried alive. This idea has been a part of human history since we started burying our dead. Back in Victorian times, being buried alive was common. We didn't have the scientific means to find out if someone was really dead. So what they would do is, they would tie strings to the corpses, and those strings would lead up to a bell above ground. And then, if it turned out that someone was not kaput, they would ring the bell and hopefully be saved. The idea of being buried alive has been branded into our DNA. This movie captures that fear. The idea of voodoo zombies is terrifying. The thought that you can be lying there dead, and then you watch yourself getting put in a coffin, then buried, but you can't do a damn thing about it. It's horrifying.
Don't let them bury me. I'm not dead.
Even though this movie does focus on voodoo zombies, I feel weird putting it in the zombie genre. For me, it's more of a supernatural adventure. I like how they handle the supernatural elements in the first few acts. There's this theme of science mixing with religion and mythology throughout the film. Most of the supernatural stuff happens in dreams that Dr. Allen has. There is something otherworldly going on in the story, but it's happening around the edges of the story. leaving these questions. Is this real? Is there another explanation? That is until we get to the final act. When we get to the final showdown between Dennis and D'Argent, this is when the metaphysical elements are on full display. That takes the movie down a notch for me. Not that it's a bad climax, it's still good. I love me a good supernatural horror movie. I just thought the movie worked more when the supernatural elements were kept in someone's mind, or kept at a distance. Since this was inspired by a real guy who actually went to Haiti to learn about voodoo zombification, I thought leaving the mystical elements around the edges of the story made it more compelling. I still enjoy the final act, I just wish it went in a different direction.
Lucien, please!
No!
It's a shame that Serpent and the Rainbow isn't recognized as much as Wes Craven's other movies. It has good characters, an interesting story, an even more interesting backstory if you research Wade Davis, and some legitimately creepy moments. If you've seen Wes Craven's other movies, but you have not seen Serpent and the Rainbow, give it a watch. Time for the Grindhouse Rankings. We've got a body count of 5. There could be more, but there's a revolution at the end, but oh well. The kills consist of, but are not limited to, heads getting hacked off, poisoned scorpions in mouths, and death by voodoo magic. We get a small dive into voodoo culture. If you're looking for a deeper dive, read the original book. It plays on the thought of being buried alive, which is terrifying. Dr. Allen is a good main character. I like a guy who can think on his feet. The villain is very fucking intimidating. The fact that he has a position of power makes him a bigger threat. There are quite a few tense moments. The nail scene and the burial scene will put you on edge. The final act does drop a little for me because of the supernatural elements. I thought the film was better when the magic stuff was kept around the edges of the story. It still works though. I'm giving Serpent and the Rainbow a 4.2 out of 5. It's intense and interesting. If you're a Wes Craven fan and you have not seen this flick, give it a watch. As always, I want to thank everyone for watching and supporting my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you like what I do here, or give it a thumbs down if you don't like what I do here. Leave a comment down below. What movies by famous horror directors do you think deserve more attention? This is the Maniac, here to remind you that the Grindhouse will never die. I may not be dead, but I am dead inside.